Nothing is more chilling than an unsolved murder case, and the world has plenty of them. Even when the court has given its verdict in some circumstances, it is difficult for us to accept it. This is Insane Crimes. Before we continue this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you can stay in tuned and updated on every upload.
The Pizza Bomber. On August 28, 2003, a 46-year-old pizza delivery man walked into a bank in Erie, Pennsylvania, armed with a shotgun modified to look like a walking cane, and handed the teller a note demanding $250,000 in cash. A collar bomb was fastened around the man's neck, and, the note said, it would go off if he did not get what he wanted. Carrying a bag stuffed with more than $8,000, the man, Brian Wells, walked back out of the bank as calmly as he'd walked in. He didn't get far before being surrounded by police. A strange scene then played out that would make the case the subject of international news coverage in the ensuing days, months, and years. Wells, sitting on the ground, pleaded for help as he described how he'd been forced by 3 people to rob the bank. He'd gone to the trio to deliver pizzas, he said, but instead, they strapped an explosive to him and ordered him to bring back $250,000. He begged for his life as the device he wore began beeping louder and louder, faster and faster, insisting he had very little time left to live. News cameras were rolling when the bomb exploded, broadcasting Wells' death live, from multiple angles. Afterward, police recovered several pages of detailed, handwritten instructions from Wells' car. The papers were meant for the bomb hostage and contained directions first to rob the bank and then to proceed on an elaborate scavenger hunt for keys and codes to disable the explosive Wells wore. However, in one bizarre twist among many, it was not realistically possible for Wells to complete the instructions in enough time to save himself from the bomb. Investigators ultimately determined the device, which included 4 locks and a combination dial, could never have been safely removed. When investigating where Wells had gone on his last delivery, the media stumbled onto a man who seemed to be oblivious to the crime, but who lived very close to where Wells was last seen working. His name was Bill Rothstein. Bill Rothstein had avoided being investigated for a little under a month before he called the police and told them of a dead man in his freezer. At the time, police did not suspect this had anything to do with the Wells case. Rothstein admitted that he had helped his ex-girlfriend, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong, cover up the murder of her then-living boyfriend, Jim Roden. According to local authorities, Diehl-Armstrong was well known for the deaths of her recent boyfriends. She had admitted to killing one boyfriend in self-defense and another died from blunt force trauma to his head, but the body was never sent to an examiner, so Diehl-Armstrong was never convicted. In 2004, Rothstein died of lymphoma after testifying against Diehl-Armstrong for the murder of Jim Roden. As a result of Rothstein's testimony, in 2007 Diehl-Armstrong was convicted of murder and sentenced to 20 years in a federal prison. In an effort to be transferred to a minimum security facility, she informed police that she would tell them everything she knew about the Wells case and how it had been Rothstein who organized it. She went on to tell the feds that Rothstein had been the mastermind of the plot and that Wells had in fact been in on the plan until he realized that he was the one who was going to have a bomb strapped to his neck. Around this time, a drug dealer named Kenneth Barnes was turned into authorities by his brother-in-law for bragging about being a part of the heist. Barnes agreed to tell authorities his story for a reduced sentence. He told the police what most of them had expected: Diehl-Armstrong was the mastermind behind the plan, and according to him, she planned the heist so that she could pay him to murder her father. Barnes pled guilty to conspiracy and weapons violations involved with the collar bomb plot and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Before Diehl-Armstrong was considered fit to stand trial, she had to undergo treatment for glandular cancer. Although she was given 3 to 7 years to live, she awaited trial for charges that could land her a life sentence. When she was finally able to be tried, she was found guilty on 3 different charges: armed bank robbery, conspiracy, and using a destructive device in a crime of violence. She was given a mandatory life sentence on November 1, 2010. To this day, some believe this crime is still unsolved and that there was much more to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us, and stay tuned for the next episode of Insane Crimes.